Remember in 2021, when the real estate market in Vancouver was red hot? Everyone was lining up to buy condos the way Swifties lined up for concert tickets. You kept on losing multiple offers on a handful of mediocre properties. It was a tough market. I bet you got frustrated and felt defeated. Then someone at the office told you about this great opportunity to essentially skip the line and buy a pre-sale instead of competing in a battle royale with 18 other equally desperate home buyers. You rationalized that. If you're going to pay more than the home is worth, why not buy a new one instead? At least it's new and it comes with a warranty. Great idea. So you go ahead and sign a pre-sale contract when interest rates were basically a rounding error. You felt the full effects of FOMO as you eagerly handed over the deposit check with absolutely no idea what the actual completion date was. Fast forward to today. The building is finally done, the developer wants their money, and the underwriter at the bank looks at your finances and says, absolutely not. So now you're wondering the quiet part out loud. What happens if I just walk away? Like, just hide until they stop calling. Spoiler alert, ignoring it will not make it go away. It is not free and it's rarely simple. And in the worst case, it follows you around like that one stray cat that you accidentally made eye contact with. Yes, the black one. Hi, my name is Simon Liu and I'm your friend in real estate here in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. I have helped people make smart real estate moves across Greater Vancouver for nearly 2 decades. If you're thinking about making a move, my team and I would love to help. I invite you to reach out using the information below. Let us help you find your happy home. Before we get into it, yes, this gets better before it gets worse, but I promise it does get better. Now, quick disclaimer before anyone screenshots this and forwards it to their lawyer. I am not a lawyer. I do not play one on YouTube. This video is general education, not legal advice. So please talk to a real estate lawyer about your specific situation. Cool? Cool. So today we're breaking down what really happens when you can't or don't want to complete on your pre-sale condo in BC. Stay tuned because the last part is the one that might actually save you. Are you ready? Let's go. So first things first. Why would anyone want to bail on a Vancouver pre-sale they were once excited enough to put down a huge deposit? Honestly, the reasons are more common than you'd think. Maybe your rates doubled, and the mortgage that felt comfy in 2021 now feels like a gym membership that you signed up for in January and deeply regret. Maybe the appraisal came in lower than the purchase price, so the bank won't lend you the full amount, and you're suddenly short a pile of cash that you don't have. Maybe your life changed. Job, divorce, a new baby, a move, or maybe you're just looking at the pre-sale assignment market in Vancouver and realized the unit is worth less today than what you agreed to pay. None of these makes you a bad person. They make you a normal person in a market that did some wild things. The problem isn't wanting out. The problem is the contract you signed does not particularly care about your feelings. And the contract has 5 very specific ways of making that clear. Let's go through them one by one. Consequence number 1, and the one most people already brace for, the deposit. On most pre-sales, you've put down somewhere between 15 and 25% over the course of the build. On $1 million unit, that's $150,000 to $250,000 sitting in the developer's trust account. If you walk away and breach your pre-sale contract in BC, the first thing on the line is that deposit. Gone. Forfeited. The developer keeps it. And I know what you're thinking. Simon, that's already brutal. Surely that's the end of it. Oh, my sweet summer buyer, grab a snack. We're just getting started. Now here's the part nobody warns you about. Losing your deposit is not the worst case. It's the opening act. And the headliner is a 3-piece ensemble called shortfall, legal fees, and interest. None of them have good merch. I already checked. So stick with me because this is where it goes from I can live with that to when is this over? Many people assume the deposit is the ceiling. The developer takes the money, you both move on, no hard feelings. That is not how these contracts work. If you don't complete, the developer can turn around and resell your unit. And if the market has dropped, which is exactly the situation that you'd be panicking in, they often resell it for less than you agreed to pay. The difference between your contract price and what they actually get on resale, that gap can become your bill. And in BC real estate law, that shortfall is fair game for the developer to pursue. Let's dig deeper with an example. Say you agreed to pay $1 million for the home, you walk, the developer resells it for $700,000. That's a $300,000 shortfall. Since you paid a 20% deposit, $200,000 is already in the pot. That leaves you with an additional $100,000 they can come after you for. So now we're not just talking about losing money you already paid, we're talking about owing money you might not even have. That is a very different conversation, and it usually happens in a courtroom in front of a judge. And if you think that's the end of the bill, it's not. The developer's lawyer will also send one to you. And here's where it gets a little bit more uncomfortable, because the shortfall is just a headline. There's still the fine print underneath it. Many presale contracts include clauses that make you responsible for the developer's legal costs when they have to chase you. So on top of the resale shortfall, you could also be paying for the lawyers, not just your own. 2 legal bills, 1 buyer. A buy one, get one deal. Except it's not advertised on your Uber Eats app and no one ever asked for it. Then you add the interest. Contracts often allow the developer to charge interest on the unpaid amount from the completion date until everything is settled. And these cases do not resolve overnight. They can drag on for a year or more, with interest quickly stacking up the entire time like a tab you forgot to close. So your sacrifice to the deposit plan has now grown a shortfall, a set of legal fees, and an interest meter that doesn't sleep, take holidays, and absolutely doesn't care if it's your birthday. We've covered the deposit, the shortfall, and the legal tab. There are still 2 more consequences most people never see coming, so stick with me. Quick pause. If your head is starting to hurt, that's the correct response, and it also means you're paying attention. If this is useful so far, do me a small favor and hit the subscribe button, because we make these Vancouver real estate explainers every week, and I'd genuinely love to help more people avoid expensive surprises. Okay, back to the consequences. It's not all doom. I promise the ending gets better. Let's say the lawsuit gets settled and you've paid what you owe. You'd think that's the end of the story. Unfortunately, the sequel is about your credit, the other kind. A judgment against you, missed obligations, or a settlement that goes sideways can land on your credit report, and lenders have very long memories. When you go to borrow again for a different home here in Metro Vancouver, a car, anything, that history can mean higher rates, smaller approvals, or a straight up no. Think of your borrowing power like your reputation at your favorite restaurant. Show up frequently, they give you a good table. Skimp out on a tip once, and suddenly there's never an open reservation. Banks are exactly that petty, and they keep the receipts. So walking away doesn't just cost you today. It can persistently tax every financial move you make for years afterward. Everything I've described so far assumes the numbers are painful but manageable. Here's what happens when they're not. Now, the part I genuinely hope never applies to you. The extreme end of the spectrum. In the worst situations, where the shortfall plus the legal fees plus the interest adds up to a number you simply cannot pay, people can end up looking at a consumer proposal or even bankruptcy. A consumer proposal is basically a formal deal made with a licensed insolvency trustee where you offer to repay a portion of what you owe over time. Bankruptcy is the heavier option, where assets and obligations get dealt with under the law. I'm not saying this to scare you, even though, yes, it is objectively a little scary. I'm saying it because too many buyers treat walking away like canceling a dinner reservation, when in the worst case, it can reshape your entire financial life. The size of the deposit and the size of the potential shortfall are why this deserves real professional attention, and not a decision made at 2 a.m. while doom scrolling on a Reddit thread titled, "Am I Cooked?" Here's the thing. I've just spent several minutes telling you how bad this can get. Now, I'm going to spend the next 90 seconds telling you how most people avoid all of it. So don't go anywhere. So if door number 1, just abandoning the contract, leads straight into lawsuits and interest meters, where do the other doors lead? Good question. Let's dig deeper. Option 1, you can assign the contract. If your Vancouver presale contract allows assignments, you may be able to sell your spot in line to another buyer. You might take a loss if the market dropped, but a smaller controlled loss usually beats an open-ended lawsuit. Option number 2, talk to your lender early and creatively. Sometimes the deal isn't dead. It just needs a co-signer, a larger down payment, help from family, a different lender, or a longer amortization period to make the payments work. The mortgage you couldn't get in March might be available now in a slightly different shape. Option number 3, speak with the professionals. Go get a real estate lawyer in BC and an experienced Vancouver real estate agent involved before the completion date, not after. Find out all of your options early. Option number 4, negotiate with the developer. In a slower market, some developers would genuinely rather find a workable solution than fund a long legal fight. an extension, a revised deposit structure, or a quiet assignment with their blessing are all things that have happened. You won't know unless someone asks on your behalf. Option number 5, and please hear me out on this one because it is risky. Arrange for a short-term private loan to help to fund a completion. Similar to the option 1, this gives you controlled loss if you choose to sell immediately after completion, but it also buys you time by allowing you to rent it out while you time your exit to better suit your financial situation or work on a refinancing scenario with the banks. In the best case scenario, you may even hold it long enough to realize a profit. Almost every good option has a shelf life. The earlier you move, the more doors there are that are still open for you to consider. So here's the honest summary. Walking away from a pre-sale condo in Vancouver is almost never as clean as just losing your deposit. It can mean a resale shortfall, the developer's legal fees, interest, damage to your future borrowing power, and in rare cases, something much heavier. But, and this is an important but, you usually have options. The buyers who get hurt the most are the ones who freeze and do nothing until the completion date arrives. The ones who do okay are the ones who get help early. So if you find yourself in the situation described, or maybe you're a home buyer looking for an opportunity to bail someone out, your first step is to email me at info@happyhomesvancouver.com or send a text message to 778-688-6838. And let's help you get settled into your happy home. If you found this video helpful and want to see more of it, I would appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel or share with a friend so you can help us help more people. In the meantime, check out my video on the 5 red flags you might find in the strata documents right here on this channel. We'll have a link for you in the show notes. Again, my name is Simon Liu, here to serve you here in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.